Oh, yeah. Is it Saturday already? Have we made it through yet another week of Star Wars news? And I mean, probably the most important week of Star Wars news in 7 years, because we just got a Star Wars movie last weekend. The Mandalorian and Grogu, of course. We're talking about a brand new trilogy today, possibly in episode 10, 11, and 12, but hopefully not. But Simon Kinberg's trilogy, the Rey movie, Starfighter, how this all connects to the Mandoverse, how this all connects to Grand Admiral Thrawn and Dave Filoni's movie. We got so much to do today and not a lot of time. We also got a giveaway today because it's the end of the month. And yes, it is my birthday. I appreciate all the happy birthdays in the chat. But we got a giveaway today. We got a lot to get into and not a lot of time, so without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everyone doing on this fine Saturday afternoon? So yes, I know, I see it in the chat. It is my birthday. I am older now. God! Had to do it. Had to do it once. But we do have an amazing giveaway today for the people who love Star Wars. And I'll show you what that is today, because of course, you know, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie came out. We had to do a giveaway of the Mandalorian helmet. So that's the giveaway today. The Black Series Mandalorian and Grogu helmet. We'll do that later on in the live stream. We even got a special guest coming on the live stream later. We got a lot to get into today. It's going to be a really fun one. We're talking a new Star Wars trilogy. We're talking about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. We're talking about so much Star Wars freaking news, your mind will be melting. Because I know mine will. Because I'm old now. But let's start the stream the only way we know how, by watching this.
Oh, baby, you can do it. A big pipe, huh?
Okay, let's start the stream the only way we know how, by saying hi to everybody in the chat. Shall we? Holly, how we doing? John Groom in the house. WV Grad, what is up? Melissa in the building. Kyler in the house. That Dave that loves Star Wars, what is up? Jason, how we doing? Nathan in the building. Darth Plagueis lives, how we doing? Mojo Jojo in the house. Xavier, how we doing? Brandon Baker in the house as per usual. All right, if I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Before we get to this, Holly with a very generous $20 super chat. My goodness, that's insanely generous. Says, happy birthday to our fearless leader, Mike Reaper. I appreciate that. I really, really do. Let's give everybody a nice little...
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
All right, let's start with the new trilogy. Of course, we're going to talk about the Mandalorian and Grogu, and the box office. Well, the weekend has only just begun, but still, the box office dropped from last weekend to this weekend, and we'll talk about all that great stuff. But we got to talk about this new trilogy. We got to talk about why Thrawn was not in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. And we got to talk about how Dave Filoni is setting up the future of Star Wars and is even talking about it right now in interviews. So let's start. I guess let's start with, and even Emilia Clarke is teasing or talking about how she, wants to come back to Star Wars, and how we might even see the Crimson Dawn at sometime soon in the somewhat near future. But let's start with this. Let's start with these reports of episode 10, 11, and 12, shall we? Darth Plagueis lives with a very generous $5 Hollis. Says, happy birthday, Mike. I appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do for us. I don't do a thing. I don't do nothing. It's you guys who do it for me, okay? I wouldn't be here sitting talking to you guys if it wasn't for you guys. So don't you take me. Don't you dare even think about it.
Incorrect.
But I appreciate it. Darth Plagueis also goes on to say, will Rey be the main character of this said new trilogy? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's start here with this report. So, Star Wars Episode 10, 11, and 12 are reportedly the focus for Lucasfilm moving forward. So we just got the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, a standalone film, although it did set up a massive power vacuum in the galaxy, with the Hutts now being gone, the Hutts ruling the underworld for over 25,000 years, having their own space in the galaxy called Hutt space. Now that's completely up for grabs for Grand Admiral Thrawn or for the New Republic or for anybody, really. We talked about that on Tuesday and Thursday of this week. Now, we're talking about the future of Star Wars content beyond the sequel trilogy, beyond the Starfighter and Rey movie, with a new trilogy. The problem with this, to me, my big issue with this entire piece of what we're going to talk about for a while here, is that it's 10, 11, and 12. Tell me in the chat, do you want a trilogy that is titled Episode 10, Episode 11, and Episode 12? Because supposedly The Rise of Skywalker was supposed to be the end of the saga. All great sagas come to an end. That's how they marketed the movie. And it is an end. It's an end to the Palpatine and Skywalker feud that's gone on for 3 trilogies. It's an end. All the Skywalkers are gone, to our knowledge. All the Skywalkers are gone. All the Palpatines, they're not gone. Rey's still alive. But the feud, the endless battle, the generations of Anakin and his children and his grandchildren, it's all come to a close. The Skywalker saga has come to an end. So the next movie is going to be titled Episode 10? I'm not a fan. I am not a fan at all. I do want another trilogy, of course. I want post-sequel trilogy content, but don't call it Episode 10. Do not make it a continuation of the Skywalker saga. But tell me in the chat, do you think it will be? Actually, let's put this up in a poll. Let's put it up in a poll. If you have not smashed a freaking like already, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? All right, let's do this. Do you think the next trilogy will be will be Episode 10, 11, 12? 10, 11, and 12. Yes or no? Do you think they will title it Episode 10, 11, and 12 and be a continuation of the Skywalker saga? Or will it be like Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, or Episode 1? Like, are they just going to start back over again? Tell me in the chat, and let's read this article. Let's read it. The next Star Wars trilogy, Episode 10, 11, and 12, has been seemingly pushed up to be the focus for Lucasfilm and Disney, according to an insider. For a while now, we have known that Simon Kinberg has been writing a trilogy of films. And let me just stop right here. Simon Kinberg, I know people hear the name and think of one of two things. For me personally, well, we'll get to that in a second. Most people who are trying to put the guy down think of the X-Men movies because he worked on so many of these I just bit my tongue. Damn it! God!
I got a bad feeling about this.
He worked on so many of those X-Men films. Many of them being really, really good. Many of them being really, really bad. There's a mixed bag when it comes to all of those different X-Men films. But to me, the most important thing for anybody who's going to be working on Star Wars is their Star Wars experience. As I've said countless times before on these live streams, if you are going to work on a Star Wars film, you should have some Star Wars experience, even if it's just directing one episode of a Disney Plus series, just to get your feet wet. Whatever it is, get some Star Wars experience. This is why, when you look at the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, we had zero doubts in our mind that it was going to be a great film because of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who have had so much experience with Star Wars. That's why everybody loves Dave Filoni being the new co-president of Lucasfilm because of his Star Wars experience. If they just brought in some random guy who's had success being somewhere else, that would not work. You have to have Star Wars experience. So for Simon Kinberg, being a co-creator of Star Wars Rebels, personally my favorite Star Wars series of all time, that's the Star Wars experience I've been looking for. Those are the droids you're looking for. So when I hear Simon Kinberg Star Wars trilogy, my eyes light up because we're talking about the guy who co-created one of the greatest, if not my personal opinion, the greatest Star Wars series of all time. And that's great news. So when you have the president of Lucasfilm being Dave Filoni and the guy writing your new trilogy, which, by the way, having one guy writing the trilogy is also great news because now you're going to have a cohesive story throughout the entire trilogy. Not like what happened with the sequels where you were bouncing around from creative to creative to creative. Now you have one guy with one mission, with one goal to write an entire trilogy. So Simon Kinberg, we've known this for a while, has been writing a trilogy of films. Kathleen Kennedy even confirmed that this trilogy exists last year. And then during her exit interview this year, in like January, I think, where she revealed that 70 pages of a story treatment have already been written. So as of January this year, the start of this 2026, at least 70 pages of a story treatment for an entire trilogy have been written. That's not for a script. That's not for, episode 10. That's for the entire treatment of the entire trilogy. During this week, there had been a lot of talk about this trilogy of films, followed by an article from GQ. Shout out to GQ for making their website, subscription only. I mean, really? So this article is great because we don't need to pay for the subscription. The article in question talks about how Kinberg's trilogy will be episode 10 through 12 of the Skywalker saga. This information has been reported on by various outlets and social media accounts and some brand new leaks. However, this isn't new information. GQ's article does a bit of piecing other articles together, interviews and rumors together. They don't have inside sources sharing things from that interview, despite how people on social media are wording it. So Lucasfilm moving forward. Hollywood insider Jeff Snyder shared that he knows and thinks in the latest episode of his Hot Mic podcast, or what he knows and thinks. Initially, Snyder was puzzled as to why the talk of episode 10 to 12 is being treated as news. The journalist said, it was basically said when the project was announced that Kinberg's movies were intended to serve as episode 10 to 12. This is going to be a fresh reboot with all new faces, but a continuation of Rey Skywalker's story. So the main characters will be new characters. The main ensemble of like a Luke Leia Han or an Anakin Obi-Wan Padme or a Rey Finn Poe, those characters will be new, fresh faces. You'll still have your familiar faces like Rey, Finn, and Poe, and hopefully Ben Solo if he comes back to life. But you'll have your familiar faces. However, you're not going to. She's going to be like a Obi-Wan Kenobi type of character in that trilogy. Okay. She's not going to be the main character, even though her Jedi Order may be a big part in that. So, Simon Kinberg's trilogy, as much as it may function as a episode 10, 11, 12, it's not going to be part of the Skywalker story. Let's put it that way. Yeah. I would like a new trilogy set 10 years or so we have time for more stories between Starfighter and the Rey movie, like The Hunt for Ben Solo. Yeah, if I were to guess, because the Rey movie takes place 15 years. The latest we heard was the Rey movie takes place 15 years after the events of the sequel trilogy, after the Rise of Skywalker. Okay? So, at least Simon Kinberg's trilogy will be at least 15 years after the sequels. And a lot can happen in 15 years, as we've seen. The time period between the prequels and the originals is 19 years. And think about how much has happened in between those time periods. If you look at Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope, 19 years. You get Order 66, you get the entire reign of the Empire, you get the construction of the Death Star, you get Solo, you get Kenobi, you get all the Vader comics, you get Rebels, you get Andor, you get Rogue One. There is so much content and so much story to be told in those 19 years. So the same can be said about a 15-year gap in between the sequels and a possible Simon Kinberg trilogy. Now, the gap between the originals and the sequels is what we're in right now with the Mandoverse. Yes, a Mando trilogy would be fantastic, but that's even more time. That's 30 years almost. So from Return of the Jedi to The Force Awakens is nearly 30 years. So you're talking over double that. And we already have 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, all this content, and a Mando movie now, and even more on the way. So there's plenty of story to be told there. Yeah. Indeed. But continuing. So here's what Snyder went on to say. So I think what they are trying to do is continue the story people are invested in. I don't know what the big deal is. Rey will be back. So they're going to continue the story with characters that people know and love from the Skywalker saga, but also with new faces. Now, my question to you, Chet, is do you think characters like Ryan Gosling and whoever his character may be, or Flynn Gray, the kid, Force-sensitive kid from the upcoming Starfighter movie, do you think characters like that will be involved in the Simon Kinberg trilogy? The way I look at it is there is a reason that Starfighter is first. You know? The same reason that the Mandalorian and Grogu is first, to set up this massive power struggle in the galaxy with the Hutts being gone and the Shadow Council members being taken out, and setting up for even normie fans who don't watch the shows what's coming. The same reason that we got that before a Rey movie or anything else is because they want to set up these films for the most potential for success. So when they look at what they had on the horizon, when they look at the Simon Kinberg trilogy, when they look at the Rey movie, Starfighter, the Mandalorian and Grogu, they looked at that and said, what would be best to put us in a position for success and to set up these stories for the best possible outcome? Because if you look at the Rey movie in general, so many fans are divided on the prospect of a Rey movie. Tell me in the chat, do you want a Rey movie, yes or no? And watch. You're going to see this massive divide even amongst people who love Star Wars. And that's going to be around regardless. The difference is, if you make a Starfighter movie, and the Starfighter movie is really, really good, and ends on a cliffhanger that sets up the Rey movie, then you're going to have a brand new portion of the fandom that is either on board or more open to the possibility of a Rey movie. And the same can be said about a Simon Kinberg trilogy. If Rey is in fact going to be a main character in those 3 films, then yeah, you're going to get a lot of people who immediately just get deterred from the idea because Rey is a main character or is a character in the films. Unless you set up the trilogy with a Rey movie or a Starfighter movie where people are now invested in these new characters, people are now wanting to know what happens next, because I can say with the most certainty, I will say probably anything today on this live stream, that Star Wars fans just want more Star Wars beyond the sequels. Whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, they just want more Star Wars beyond the sequels. Whether it involved the sequel characters or not, we just want more stories. So in order to set up those stories with characters that we know and love, then Starfighter might be the most important thing we can be waiting for. I know The Mandalorian and Grogu is great. Ahsoka Season 2 is going to be great. But to an extent, we know where these stories go, and it's the sequels. Beyond the sequels, it's the Wild West. We don't know a single thing that's going to go down in these movies or in these shows or in anything. 5 years after the rise of Skywalker, what's the galaxy look like? What do the Jedi look like? What do the Sith look like? They're all supposedly gone, with Palpatine now being gone. What does the galaxy look like 5 years after everything? It's always been the Star Wars fans' dream to see that. Since the original trilogy ended in 1983, everybody in their dog was fanboy dreaming about what happened with Luke. Does he make a Jedi temple? What happens with Leia and Han? And do they have kids? And that's how you end up with Legends content, or the EU. That's how you end up with all these fan theories. Now the same thing is happening with the sequels. The border of just what happens after has just been moved back 30 years. So everybody wants to know what the galaxy looks like after that, what it looks like in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And that's what this Kinberg trilogy is going to give us. Continuing. More interestingly, Snyder goes on to share this little tidbit. I don't want to say it's heating up, but it's moving to from the back burner to the front burner, this trilogy, that is. They have started thinking about what's next after Star Wars Starfighter. And now that that movie is, in the can, it's already been filmed, Starfighter is certainly the we're back for Star Wars. It's almost as if The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I'm not putting the movie down at all, it's a great movie, but it's the appetizer to returning to the big screen. And Starfighter, at least from what he's saying here, is the entree, is the holy crap, this is it. And then we're just in the weeds of it all. Then we're getting movie after movie. Dave Filoni's movie, the Rey movie, Kinberg's trilogy, Dawn of the Jedi, like all these different films. And this is just the ramp up to it. So moving the trilogy from the back burner to the front burner is very important for us Star Wars fans, because now the importance of pushing out a trilogy. I've talked about this so many times, I'm sure you're sick of hearing me say it. The Mandalorian and Grogu should be a trilogy. Starfighter should be a trilogy, because as Star Wars fans, we don't want to be looking forward to just one film. We want to be watching the film speculating, where does this go? Where does this go? That's the same thing I was doing on my first watch of The Mandalorian and Grogu, and the second, honestly, of where does this take us in the Star Wars galaxy? What's coming next? And if you announce a trilogy, then people sitting there watching episode 1 of the trilogy are already in their minds thinking, where does this go? Think about watching The Force Awakens back in 2015, going, who is this Snoke guy? How is this going to go? Is Finn going to become a Jedi? Is Rey, who is this Rey girl? Is she connected to somebody? Is she a Skywalker? Is she a Palpatine? Who is this girl? Is Kylo Ren going to come back to all those predictions only happen because there's 2 more episodes after it. And I certainly hope we get a Mandoverse trilogy, but knowing that a trilogy is coming, if Simon Kinberg's trilogy is on the front burner and Starfighter is a setup to that trilogy, then as Star Wars fans, we're not thinking in the future as of next May. We're thinking for the next 6 years, we're going to be watching Star Wars films that are all interconnected to each other with characters that we hopefully know and love. We don't know if we love them yet because we haven't met them yet, but characters that we hopefully know and love. And we are set for the next decade of Star Wars storytelling on the big screen. That's what a trilogy does. So having this now be on the front burner, having this be like the most important thing for Lucasfilm, because Star Wars was built off of trilogies. I love the standalone films, Rogue One, Mandalorian, Solo. I mean, come on. But Star Wars was built on trilogies, and we need a trilogy to get excited for. So to hear that episode 10, 11, 12, if that is indeed what it's going to be, from Simon Kinberg is on the front burner rather than the back burner, then this is great news. This is truly where the fun begins.
This is where the fun begins.
Interestingly enough, a lot of you guys in the chat are saying, 60% of you actually are saying, yes, you do think that this next trilogy will be episode 10, 11, and 12. And I hope it's not. Let's put it that way. I want as much as I want a trilogy, I don't want that trilogy to be an episode 10, 11, and 12 because of what it would do to the Skywalker saga we already have. They marketed episode 9 like it was the end of the saga. Are you just going to make the next movie episode 10? Because that doesn't really make much sense. Aaron says, I don't think every story needs to be a trilogy. True. But an announcement, planned trilogy, definitely builds up more hype, pressure, and anticipation. 100%. We need movies like Rogue One and The Mandalorian and Grogu because they're awesome. Rogue One's my 3rd favorite Star Wars movie ever. If we didn't get standalone Star Wars films, we wouldn't have those films. So I agree with you. We do need those spin-off movies, for lack of better words. But we also need a trilogy to get hyped up for at the same time. That's why I think, say what you will about the sequel trilogy and whatever, and Solo lost money, blah, blah, blah. The year from 2015 to 2019 was awesome. Having a Star Wars movie every single year, and it not having to be a trilogy movie every year, but a spin-off in between, that was just amazing. For a 4 or 5 year stretch, we just had a Star Wars movie every single year. And it was great. I was loving it. And then we went to the small screen, and we've had a 1 or 2 or 3 live-action projects every single year with animated projects also. And you grew that anticipation for those characters. You fell in love with new characters like Din and Grogu, and then they brought them back to the big screen. Let me show you something pretty crazy here. You want to know exactly why we got a Mandalorian and Grogu movie first? You want to know why? These numbers were just dropped. Take a look at this. Most watched Star Wars series premieres revealed. These are just the premieres, it says, I believe. New data has revealed just how much demand there has been for Star Wars shows on Disney+. We find out the demographic of who is watching the various shows. The Mandalorian and Grogu made the lightspeed jump from streaming to theaters last week. Now, with this report, has given us a look at which of the series created for Disney Plus have the fans most eager to watch when they come out. So this is the top 10 all-time most in-demand premieres for Disney Plus shows. And you're going to look at this and go, yep, that makes perfect sense. You're going to go, oh my God, no wonder they made a Mandalorian and Grogu movie, because this is absolutely insane. So, top 10. At number 1, The Mandalorian, Season 1. At number 2, Daredevil Born Again, Season 1. Daredevil Born Again is Season 4 of a Netflix series that is one of the highest rated series of all time. So it's the return to characters that we haven't seen in like 8 years, something like that. So that checks out. Number 3, Mando Season 2. Number 4, Mando Season 3. Number 5, The Acolyte.
This is where the fun begins.
Number 5, The Acolyte. Number 6, Andor Season 2. Not Season 1, Season 2. Number 7, Loki Season 2. Incredible television right there. Number 8, Daredevil Born Again Season 2. The second season of that first one. Number 9, Ahsoka Season 1. And number 10, the only animated series on this list, Clone Wars Season 7. Clone Wars Season 7. I love The Acolyte. I don't care what you say. I'm not going to say anything else. I love The Acolyte too. I love The Acolyte too. But that's not the point. That was not that was not the point of why I brought this list up. It is great to see The Acolyte at number 5, but that was not the reason I brought this up. According to Parrot Analytics, their methodology is what I meant to say, is the USA demand for each series and averaged in the 30 days from each season's premiere and expressed as a multiple of the average series demand in that period. Let me reread that. Wait a second. It's the USA demand of each series and averaged in the 30 days from each season premiere and expressed as a multiple of the average series demand in that time period. Okay, so the first 30 days since the premiere of a project and its demand on Disney+. That's pretty much what it's saying right there. This means the demand for The Mandalorian Season 1 was nearly 100 times greater. You know, not 5%, not 5 times greater, not like 10 times greater, not even 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80, 100 times greater than the average series on Disney+. Now, and that's what this means. That's why it says 98x. So it's 98 times greater than the average demand on Disney+. And look at the drop-off from 1 to 2. 2 is Daredevil Born Again at 72 times greater, which is still a lot, but 100 to 70 is crazy. All right. But continuing. For some fans, it will be surprising to see The Acolyte only behind 3 seasons of The Mandalorian and ahead of Andor Season 2. Ahsoka in the final season of the Clone Wars. Oh, and Ahsoka in the final season of the Clone Wars. Based on this data, you can see a sheer level of excitement for The Mandalorian Season 1, despite it coming out at the time when Disney Plus wasn't available in every region that it is now. Whoa, I did not know that. So when Disney Plus first came out, I guess it wasn't available in the whole world. Like, it was only available in certain regions. Season 2 and 3 were almost equal on their premiere, but a drop from Season 1. Star Wars Disney Plus demographics. So in terms of demographics, Star Wars viewers are typically older and male compared to, say, Marvel. However, The Mandalorian was a big change in that. Parrot Analytics had it slap bang. Okay, in the middle of a male and female average audience share and age range. It is very close to Marvel series averages. So usually when it comes to Star Wars, the typical viewer is older and a male compared to, say, Marvel. I mean, that checks out. You're talking about Star Wars fans who've been fans since the original trilogy 50 years ago, or the prequels 25 years ago, or even newer stuff now. And then Marvel started. You're talking about 2 franchises. One started really in 2008. Obviously, there was comics before, but 2008 with Iron Man, and one that started 50 years ago in 1977. 49, I guess. In comparison, Andor was around a 10% shift towards male, a similar percentage in age. There was more in line. This is more in line with the average Star Wars movie watcher demographic of 70% male. Solo: A Star Wars Story had 80% male in comparison. Are there any surprises? Yeah, are there any surprises? Let's go back up here. So, if you're wondering why the first Star Wars movie in 7 years was a Mando movie and not a new trilogy like we're talking about today with Simon Kinberg, or not a Starfighter or the Rey movie, the numbers don't lie, and they never do. The Mandalorian Season 1, 2, and 3 are leaps and bounds more than the average Disney Plus show in terms of demand from its users, in terms of viewership from fans. The Mandalorian Season 1 being almost 100 times more than all the other shows. It's insane. And to have, too, the top 10 on Disney Plus all time of everything, to have 7 of the top 10 be Star Wars shows is just, again, proving the point of why Star Wars is the greatest, is why Star Wars is the biggest franchise, and it's not even close. Yes, Marvel is huge. Marvel has had this incredible run for the last 18 years, whatever it's been. It has had this amazing run, but there's, like, you're comparing apples and oranges here. You're talking about Star Wars, which is all the way up here, and then Marvel. And I'm a Marvel fan. Like, I'm not crapping on Marvel. I'm just saying there is levels to this thing. And Star Wars is just, it's not even close. But that's why The Mandalorian and Grogu was the first Star Wars movie in 7 years. Now that they've done the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, now that they've had that success and done Din and Grogu on the big screen and proven that they can make a Disney Plus series into a movie, now that they've done that, you're going to see, well, more of it. You're going to get a Dave movie. You're going to get all this, hopefully, Heir to the Empire trilogy. But now you're going to see a shift to what can we do now? Now that we've reintroduced ourselves to the big screen, we're going to do Starfighter. We're going to do a brand new cast of characters starring Ryan Gosling, being directed by Sean Levy, and we're going to give you a 5 years post sequels. You know how sequels is brought up in the fandom, and it creates this controversy and divide. We don't care. We're making Ryan Gosling the star of a Sean Levy Star Wars film, and then we're going to go make a Rey movie with a Simon Kinberg trilogy attached. Possibly the first. Honestly, my theory is the Rey movie has not been scrapped, but it has been reworked into the first episode of the Simon Kinberg trilogy. Rey will not be the main character. She'll be a character who's prominent, but not a main character in the film. And now it's been reworked into Simon Kinberg's trilogy. And Starfighter is going to be the Rogue One to the originals. And the originals in this scenario is Kinberg's trilogy. And that's where we're at. So the fact that the next trilogy went from the back burner to the front burner makes so much sense, because the first thing that Disney did when they bought the company back in 2012 was they announced the sequel trilogy. They took zero time, zero hesitation, and they said, we're going to do a sequel trilogy, comes out in 2015. That's the first thing they did. It grew hype for 3 years. People were like, oh my God, Mark Hamill's back, Harrison Ford's back, Carrie Fisher's back, and we are doing a Star Wars trilogy. And fans were pumped about it. So I think come August, when we get D23, or more likely, Star Wars Celebration next year, where it's the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, and everybody's hyped up beyond belief, they're going to announce the next trilogy of Star Wars films. Now, this trilogy may not even begin until 2028, maybe even 2029, because Starfighter's in 2027. Let's say 2028 is either Dave's movie or the Rey movie, but let's say, yeah, so the Rey movie could be the first. So 2028 or 2029. This trilogy won't start until 2028 or 2029, but I think it will be announced either August of this year or more likely Star Wars Celebration of next year. And that's exciting. I mean, it can't get much more excited than that. And yes, Rey will be sort of like a Obi-Wan 2.0. I'm sure they will change it up quite a bit just because, you know, they got the backlash the first time around for making The Force Awakens a lot like A New Hope. However, I certainly want to see Rey be like an Obi-Wan Kenobi type, but evil. She's still a Palpatine, okay? Let's not forget that. When Palpatine was like, strike me down and I will live inside of you, or whatever he says, like, she strikes him down, you know? If they really want to go down that route, I think giving us a Rey struggling with the dark side, a Rey going fully dark side, or whatever it may be, that this is the way. That's the way to go. That's the way to go. Especially when you're going to hopefully have John Boyega back as Finn. You're going to have this new kid character, Flynn Gray, a Force sensitive, who's going to be around. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. That's where I'm at. And still, 66% of you guys think that this will be episode 10, 11, 12. Crazy. I guess it can work as a, you know, not actually episode 10, 11, 12, but not called episode 10, 11, 12, but still episode 10, 11, 12, you know? Eternal Sith with a very generous $2 haul says, happy birthday. Thank you, Eternal Sith. I appreciate that quite a bit. I am officially old. Okay, I'm going to do something that could end up being really fun or could end up really hurting my feelings. So let's try this out. How old do we think I'm turning today? Chat? Be nice. Episode 10 was supposed to be a standalone. They would never do that. Ever. They would not make a standalone episode 10. No, definitely not. Definitely not. Okay, these aren't hurting my feelings as much. Oh, 45, thanks. Yeah, 45. 45 years old. That's old. 42, yeah. Yoda's age, yeah. I'm 900. I'm 900 years old. A lot of you actually got it right. I'm sure you all just know by now because, you know, I look fantastic. Yeah, I'm 24. I'm 24. Okay, calm down. They're getting older. Nope, 24. 24. 16. Thank you. Thank you.
Incorrect.
24. And then next year, you know what's better than 24? 25. Okay, so Star Wars Starfighter will be the beginning and setup for all this Simon Kinberg trilogy stuff. And as Jeff Snyder points out here, it has been moved from the back burner to the front burner, because this is going to be the most important thing for the future of Star Wars storytelling, because a trilogy is necessary at this point. I think the Mandoverse will hopefully get a trilogy with Dave Filoni's movie, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and all that great stuff. But in terms of what's coming up really soon, it's going to be this episode 10, 11, 12 / episode 1, 2, 3 of a new trilogy, of a new time period, of a new era of Star Wars storytelling. Now, speaking of Disney Plus numbers, this came out yesterday, so I wanted to bring this up. Top 10 most popular Disney Plus shows online as of yesterday, May 29th, 2026. Still, Rivals, which is a new show, I don't know what it is, I have no idea, but it's still number 1. The Mandalorian, which hasn't had a new season in 3 years, is number 2 because of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, obviously. Maul Shadowlord still sits strong at number 3. Daredevil Born Again at number 4. Andor at number 5. X-Men 97 just got its second season trailer announced, so that's why that's bumped up to number 6. Book of Boba Fett at number 7. 8 is Wonder Man, which came out earlier this year. 9 is Clone Wars, and 10 is Ahsoka. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 10 are Star Wars projects, and of those Star Wars projects, only one of them came out this year. That's it. Tony, what's up? How we doing with the very generous $24 super chat? My God. That's very, very generous. Says, happy birthday from your Tony, your oldest fan. Yeah, Tony is the GOAT. Can we get some, get some round of applauses for Tony in the chat, please? Tony has been around since I was streaming to nobody. Well, I guess one person, and it was him. So, honestly, if it wasn't for Tony, we wouldn't be here. Let's be honest. I probably would have quit after some time, but Tony kept me going. So, I appreciate it, Tony. I really, really do. That's very generous. Okay, but again, Star Wars reigns supreme yet again with 6 of the top 10 Disney Plus most popular shows as of yesterday being Star Wars shows. Oh my God. Oh, wait until I show you guys this. This is absolutely insane. So The Mandalorian and Grogu came out last weekend, right? And yes, it has the highest audience score since the original trilogy. Is it the best Star Wars movie since the original trilogy? For me personally, no. But it does have the highest audience score since the original trilogy. It made back its shooting budget in its opening weekend. Great news all around. However, this, you got to see this. You got to see it with your own eyes and hear it with your own ears, because this is absolutely insane.
You can do it. A big pipe, huh?
It never gets old. It never gets old. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I bamboozled you. I am so sorry, chat. But in reality, in all seriousness, Revenge of the Sith is suddenly rised in viewership and is now in the top 10 of most watched movies on Disney Plus, which is really, really cool. And if you go to the top 10 currently on Disney Plus in terms of Star Wars movies in the United States as of right now, The Punisher's at number 1 because it just released last week, I think. But if you scroll down here, Attack of the Clones is at 10 and The Phantom Menace is at 7. 2 Star Wars prequel movies. Honestly, surprised that it's these 2 because Attack of the Clones gets so much hate in The Phantom Menace as well along with it. The Phantom Menace makes sense because Maul is in it. You know, Maul makes perfect sense because we just got the Maul Shadowlord series, but Attack of the Clones is crazy. I personally think Attack of the Clones is really great. I know people don't like the cheesy love stuff, but you know, what are you going to do? Yeah. Big pipe, huh? Okay, so that was pretty cool. The Mandalorian is and Maul Shadowlord still in the top 10 there as well. But let's talk about The Mandalorian and Grogu for a second here, because Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are clearing the air as to why we didn't see one particular big blue meanie named Grand Admiral Thrawn in this film. Why we don't get much references to the greater story. Sigourney Weaver's character mentions that the Empire is up to something in the Outer Rim and they're trying to figure out what it is. We get 2 Shadow Council members from the Shadow Council scene in Mando Season 3. One of them dying, and then one of them being captured and spilling the details to the New Republic. But other than that, there's no other references towards Grand Admiral Thrawn. There's no mention of Thrawn, and there's no, of course, seeing the Grand Admiral himself. So, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have revealed why these characters were not involved. And yes, it makes sense as to why they're not involved, but there's a bigger picture here. And as Star Wars fans, this has me pretty damn excited. All right. So, Jon Favreau reveals why these 2 fan-favorite Star Wars characters were not in The Mandalorian and Grogu. Well, Ahsoka is pretty easy. She's not in the freaking galaxy. She's in a completely different land. She's on Peridia, so it makes sense. Duh. That makes perfect sense. Wait, let me zoom in on this a little bit here. That's much better. No snips? Jon Favreau is revealing why The Mandalorian and Grogu doesn't feature cameos from Star Wars favorites like Ahsoka Tano and Grand Admiral Thrawn. The director who co-wrote the film alongside of Noah Clore and Lucasfilm president Dave Filoni tells Entertainment Weekly that to appeal to the wider audience, the normie fans, as we call them, they didn't want Mando, Pedro Pascal, and Grogu's big screen debut to be too heavily tied to storylines from the Disney Plus show. He says this: when we were discussing doing a 4th season, which, by the way, all the scripts have been written for, when they were written during the filming of season 3, when we were discussing doing a 4th season of The Mandalorian, which was put on hold, he did say. And then the idea of doing a theatrical presentation, it was put on hold because of the writer strikes. It changed the way we approached how interconnected things should be. A 4th season of the show would have assumed that you've seen the first 3 seasons previous, and frankly, everything else on Disney Plus. That's the nature of serializing long-form TV shows. So if you were to watch a season 4 of The Mandalorian, they would assume you've seen the first 3 seasons. So you know about the Shadow Council, you know about Grand Admiral Thrawn, you know about Moff Gideon and his cloning research and all that stuff. But to a new audience, to an audience that's going to see the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, they can't do that. You can have references for fans who know these things, like the Shadow Council members in the movie, like the mention of the Imperials and what they're up to, like the Hutts from the Book of Boba Fett being involved in the film, and Stinky and Embo and all these references for fans like us that go, oh my God. But for normie fans, you can't interconnect it nearly as much. Still, The Mandalorian and Grogu does lightly touch on it, on its place within the Star Wars history. In the film, an eponymous English, Mike, father-son duo works as an independent contractor for the New Republic. And again, if you've seen the first 3 seasons of this Disney Plus show, then you know what they're doing. You know that they're already there. You know how season 3 ended with them reclaiming Mandalore, which isn't touched on at all in this movie, but how they end up working for the New Republic. Colonel Ward sends them out on a mission to hunt down the Galactic Imperial Loyalists known as Imperial Remnants. Again, you don't have to have seen the first 3 seasons to understand what this is saying, but it helps if you have. While Ahsoka and Thrawn may not make a flyby this time, Mando and Grogu do encounter some familiar faces from the franchise. The pair is joined on their adventure by Zeb Aurelius, voiced by Steve Blum, who was the voice in Star Wars Rebels, who makes his live-action debut in the film after previously starring in the animated series Star Wars Rebels. Embo, a no-nonsense Kaizu bounty hunter, seen first in the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch. What? Embo is not in the Bad Batch, is he? Am I misremembering something here, Jet? He's not in the Bad Batch. Right? They may have mistaken him for Cad Bane. Cad? Okay. He also makes an appearance in the film alongside his Anuba, Marok, so they're wrong yet again. This Anuba in the film is called Kibu, one or the other, because Marok died in the Aftermath novels, which are canon, so Marok is R.I.P. Embo is in Rebels? No, he's not. What? I think you guys are just messing with me now. I think you're just messing with me. What really bothered me in The Mandalorian and Grogu was that Grogu literally saved Mando's life and survived on his own. And then Mando wakes up and it's like, hey, let's go. He's not like really surprised like I expected. Well, he does say the young protect the old and then the old protect the young and then the young protect the old. Yeah. It's Kibu. Okay, Kibu, not Kibo. Got it. Got it. He was referenced in the Clone Wars. By the drawing, it's a drawing by Sabine of him? Huh. The more you know. So, Jon Favreau did say, we did put some characters that people will know and want to see more of. I think Zeb is a really good example of that, because Zeb we know for a fact will be in Ahsoka Season 2. He goes on to say, we had the time to build out really complicated action sequences and make him a lead character, which we never could have done in the time frame or budget of streaming. You can't make a fully CGI'd Zeb Relius Lasat monster a main character on Disney+. That's just the reality of the situation. The budget doesn't work for it. It just doesn't work at all. To say that Star Wars fans are happy to see the big guy flex his muscles on screen once again is an understatement. Everybody knows who Zeb is because of all the great work, great character work that was put in over many years of animation. And we get all of that excitement. Honestly, the biggest reaction we got in the film was at the beginning when we reveal him. Yeah, people were cheering for sure. And then when people realize that, oh, he's not just a cameo, he's actually a main player in this movie, they love watching him. Favreau believes that the same goes for those introduced to Zeb throughout the film. I think somebody who's never seen Zeb before totally gets it and thinks, oh, he's cool too. So that's where we are looking for a Venn diagram where those things overlap, and that's a good example of it. So for fans who've never met Zeb, they still think he's cool. For fans that have never met Embo before, they still think he's cool. But for hardcore fans, for the nerds, we know these characters, and seeing them is so cool. But even normie fans think it's cool because they look cool, they are cool, and they're badass. Speaking with Entertainment Weekly, as part of a debunked video series, Dave Filoni added, it's not always about character crossovers, I'll say that. It's about the characters and what they are experiencing. So the same way that The Mandalorian Season 1 has 0 cameos? Correct me if I'm wrong. Like 0 cameos. It's new characters. It's your Cara Dunes, it's your Grief Kargas, it's your Din Djarans, your Grogus, IG-11. 0 cameos. The same way that The Mandalorian Season 1 is so great, and so is Season 2, but Season 2 is chock full of cameos. Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, Luke Skywalker. It's insane. But the same way that both seasons are really, really good, you can also have the same happen with like Ahsoka Season 1 and The Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Ahsoka Season 1 giving us Grand Admiral Thrawn, Ezra, Hera, Chopper, Sabine. All these great familiar faces crossing over. And then The Mandalorian and Grogu movie is mostly a standalone film, standalone story. Yes, you have the connecting pieces. You have Zeb specifically, but it's not always about the character crossovers and cameos. You can still have a great story in Star Wars without crossovers and cameos. A New Hope didn't have any crossovers or cameos because it was the first ever freaking Star Wars movie and there was nothing to crossover or cameo with. You couldn't cross over Darth Vader with A New Hope because you never seen Darth Vader. So it's not that Star Wars has always had to rely on that to be great, and The Mandalorian proves it yet again. Why they can do that and still succeed. So it's not about crossovers. He continues saying, we brought Ahsoka into The Mandalorian originally because she would be a great character to explain to Grogu a bit more about Grogu, but a bit more about his history. So when we find the right reason to have a character intersect, we definitely do it. So as long as it serves a purpose in the story. There's a reason for Bo-Katan in Season 2 and Season 3. There's a reason for Boba Fett in Season 2. There's a reason for Luke Skywalker coming in and saving the day, and Ahsoka as well. It's not just cameo for cameo's sake. There's a purpose to it. In the same way that the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, having Embo be a bounty hunter hired by the Hutts makes perfect sense. Having Zeb, who works for the New Republic, working with Din Djarin, makes perfect sense. And the reason that Grand Admiral Thrawn is not in the movie, because this big blue meanie has zero connection to Din Djarin. Zero. Now, would I still have preferred a mention? Yeah. But in terms of an appearance, it would not have made sense. It honestly would have made no sense because he has zero connection to the character of Mando or Grogu at this point in the timeline. Could that change? Yes. Could change in Ahsoka Season 2 if Din and Grogu are in it. It could change if Dave Filoni gets his own movie that's not called The Mandalorian and Grogu. But because this movie's called The Mandalorian and Grogu, it's focused on those two characters, and those two characters have zero knowledge or information about this character. Because in The Mandalorian Season 3, when we get a mention of Thrawn, it's in relation to Moff Gideon, who Moff Gideon we know has a very long and storied history with Din and Grogu. But continuing. And besides, Star Wars fans won't have to wait too much longer to reunite with their favorite Togruta warrior, because Ahsoka Season 2 is scheduled to premiere sometime early next year, with her Jedi Master, Anakin Skywalker, played by Hayden Christensen, confirmed to be returning alongside of her. And The Mandalorian and Grogu is in theaters now. So, that's the reason we didn't see Grand Admiral Thrawn in this film, which I'm not upset about. Would I have preferred maybe a mention of him? Sure. If Sigourney Weaver at the very end of the movie, Colonel Ward at the end of the movie was like, yeah, Lord Janu told us everything, that the Hutts were working for the Empire, and that this big blue meanie is back. And that would have been pretty cool. But to my knowledge, I don't think Lord Janu was very much on the side of Thrawn returning anyway. So, having said that, it does make sense why the big blue meanie would not be in this film, and obviously Ahsoka's not in the galaxy, so that makes sense too. However, this is still the plan. This is still the future. And as we talked about on Thursday's live stream, they are, quote unquote, knee deep in the future, and this future of Star Wars storytelling has been being planned for a long time now. And it all revolves around two things, and two things only. This guy, the big blue meanie, as the heir to the Empire, in the post-sequel world of these two and this girl. That's it. That's the future of Star Wars storytelling, as we know it. Yes, you're going to have your Maul Shadow Lord Season 2s. You're hopefully going to have your Dawn of the Jedis. You're going to get your video games like your Galactic Racer and your Jedi 3 with Cal Kestis and whatever. But it's going to be the Mandoverse in the post-sequel world for the most part, for the foreseeable future. Simon Kinberg trilogy, Rey movie, Starfighter, Dave's movie, Ahsoka Season 2, hopefully a Book of Boba Fett season 2, a Skeleton Crew season 2 like we talked about on Thursday as well. All that great stuff. That's the future. That's episode 10, 11, 12. That's where we're going and why Thrawn was not in The Mandalorian and Grogu. All of it wrapped up into one. Now, having said that, yes, of course, this is where the fun begins.
This is where the fun begins.
Having said that, we do have some other crazy things to talk about today. Speaking of Book of Boba Fett Season 2, speaking of a continuation of certain characters, Emilia Clarke. Do you remember the name? Emilia Clarke, who does she play in Star Wars, chat? Trivia of the day. Emilia Clarke is talking about Star Wars. Now, where do I even begin with this? There is so many different options for appearances for this character, like it's insane. For a character that's not really, that important, I guess, in the Star Wars timeline. For example, like she, and yes, you all guessed it. You all guessed it. Can I get some good cups, follow orders in the chat, please, too, while we're at it? Bum-ba. It is Qira. Qira from Solo. Emilia Clarke plays Qira from the Solo movie, a character who got the tease of setting up to be the next apprentice to Darth frickin' Maul. A character who came back I'm looking for my, hang on, looking for my comics. I guess I can't find it. War of the Bounty Hunters. In the comics, she came back as the leader of the Crimson Dawn, a character who had a setup for a pretty bright future and now could not only appear in Maul Season 2, that's like a definite at this point, or maybe Season 3 if that's how they're going, but also could appear in live action again in what we talked about on Thursday, a possible Book of Boba Fett Season 2. Because now the Star Wars galaxy has a massive power vacuum in it, and it is the Hutt space being completely destroyed because all the Hutts and their leaders are gone. All dead because of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which, by the way, had zero effect on the galaxy. So all this Hutt space, as you can see on the galaxy map, is up for grabs. This huge space over here. And yeah, it could be the Pikes, it could be Thrawn, it could be the New Republic. But there is another ace up their sleeve over at Lucasfilm, and that is Qira in the Crimson Dawn, the heir to Maul. The heir to Maul. And could be a live-action character because Emilia Clarke seems to be on board with a return. So here's what she has to say.
I think that...
Wait, turn it up. Try it again.
I think that Millennium Falcon has sailed, but you let me know. There's a lot of fans who have told me personally that they would like to see her again. So we shall see. Yes. I think that Millennium Falcon has sailed, but you let me know. There's a lot of fans who have told me personally that they would like to see her again. So we shall see. Yes.
So, this brings me back to about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. But to a time where Emilia Clarke sat down with Ben Mendelsohn for a interview, and the two of them were being interviewed because of Secret Invasions. Oh my God, what a show. Yikes. Secret Invasions. So the two of them were in Secret Invasions. Both characters, Ben Mendelsohn plays Orson Krennic in Star Wars, and Emilia Clarke plays Qira in Star Wars. Both actors were asked about a return to Star Wars. And both of them said, yeah, it'd be great, but no, I'm not working on Star Wars, blah, blah. Come to find out, Ben Mendelsohn was in Andor Season 2 as Orson Krennic. So he lied straight to our faces. Now, granted, it was because, he He couldn't tell us. NDAs would have ruined the surprise. We don't want that. But now every time I see an interview with Ben Mendelsohn or Emilia Clarke, I just think they're lying to us. And yes, those Star Wars checks hit different. Plenty of money involved. Plenty of money involved. But tell me in the chat. Actually, let's put this up in a poll. Let's put it up in a poll. By the way, still 60-40 pretty much right now. 60% of you guys, or 59% of you guys, I suppose, do think that this will be in episode 10, 11, 12, Simon Kinberg's trilogy, that is. But let's do this. Do you want qira back in Star Wars? Now, I'm just going to put back in Star Wars because we could see her in Maul Shadowlord Season 2. We could see her in Book of Boba Fett Season 2, in live action or in animation. We could pretty much see her in any place at this point because the Mandoverse, it's set up that she's already the leader of the Crimson Dawn. It's set up that she's already going to be there. It's perfect. Perfect. And then Maul Shadowlord is the exact same way. We already got Dryden Voss in Season 1. We already know how the Solo movie ends and she goes to train with Maul. And we don't know what happened to Devon Izara, but only time will tell. I personally hope it's both. I would prefer we see her in live action because that would make for an incredible Book of Boba Fett Season 2. The Hutts are gone. This power is up for grabs, and Boba Fett is in the middle of it. Because everybody wants his land. Everybody wants the Hutts' land. Everybody wants it all. And he is in the middle of that. And having the Crimson Dawn be involved in that, and qira, of course, being trained by Maul now, having that be a showdown of Boba Fett versus qira would be awesome. And the added bonus of Thrawn, the added bonus of all that stuff happening at the same time, it would be perfect. Perfect. Not to mention, don't even get me started on the Han Solo of it all, because she was the love interest for Han Solo at a very young age, and now Boba Fett was thrown into a Sarlacc pit, kind of accidentally, by Han Solo. And him and Boba have a pretty storied history together. So now you have the connective piece of Han Solo being the love interest of qira, having that dynamic happen. It could be a part of the reason why Han and Leia are separated now, for all we know. But qira coming back into the equation, the love interest for Han Solo, Boba Fett with Han Solo and their history together, it would just work perfectly. Perfectly. But Ultimate Benson with a very generous $5 haul says, happy birthday, Mike. I appreciate that quite a bit. Says, how do you think we will get live action Maul? Or do you think we will get live action Maul possibly? Flashbacks. If you want to explain to fans the training of Maul and qira in like a Book of Boba Fett Season 2, flashbacks. Maul in live action training qira, obviously not really in the ways of the Force. Kira's not a Force user, but Maul is a warrior. You rarely see him use the Force in the Duel of the Fates. It's all just lightsaber on lightsaber fights. He uses the Force some more in the Clone Wars and in Maul Shadowlord, but he's still a warrior first, and he can teach those, even without the Force, he can teach all that to qira. So if we get a Book of Boba Fett Season 2, then yes, we could absolutely do that. 100%. Flashbacks to a live-action Maul would be awesome. They've already brought Maul back to live action in Solo, a Star Wars story, so why not give us more? Why not? So that's what Emilia Clarke had to say. Even though she jokes that the Millennium Falcon has sailed, fans want her back. And, I mean, tell me in the chat, do you think... Well, Solo was a big old cliffhanger. And I think the Maul Shadowlord will, I guess, be the sequel to it. But there's some people that still want a Solo 2. It's possible. It's possible. It is possible, I suppose. Oh, wait, what happened? Where'd it go? What the? Okay. Let's go back to this then. All right. Okay. I just lost that. Oh, so a new Mando trailer came out yesterday. A little like teaser to get people to go watch it in the movies again. And we actually got one of the funnier scenes of the movie in this trailer. So let's switch gears a little bit here back to the Mandalorian for a second.
Audiences everywhere can't get enough of the Mandalorian.
Sorry, that was extremely loud. Hurt my eardrums. Okay, wait a second. Let me fix it. Fixed it.
Audiences everywhere can't get enough of the Mandalorian and Grogu.
You see them cheering? Strap in.
Don't miss the IMAX event of the year.
Can I feed him? Sure.
Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu, rated PG-13.
You don't even understand how helpful this would have been for my breakdown video yesterday. So if you did not see already, I made a breakdown video for the entire movie. All the Easter eggs, references, and everything in the movie. The video's a half hour long. I tried to make it shorter. I promise I did. There's so many Easter eggs and references in that movie that it's literally 30 minutes long. But I had to also do it without any of the scenes from the movie. So it was really hard to do. But having said that, this would have been extremely helpful because there's a lot of shots of Rada in this, and I didn't really have many shots of Rada at all. But thanks for the day after, why not?
Where can't get enough of
the Rada roll, trademark pending,
can't get enough of the
is so awesome.
Mandalorian and Grogu.
You see them cheering?
You see them cheering? Him feeding Grogu?
Cheering,
Hilarious.
strap in.
Don't miss the IMAX event of the year.
Can I feed him? Sure.
And what I really love about this movie is, yes, it's classic Star Wars. You got your puppets, Grogu being a puppet. You got your Anzellan's puppets, sure. And it's the perfect balance of both. George Lucas created the world of Star Wars. He was very upset about it with the original trilogy because he couldn't create what he wanted to. That's why the special editions exist, and that's why the prequels have so much CGI involved, because he was an innovator. He wanted to use the best technology and push technology forward. So the originals are a lot of puppets, and the prequels are a lot of CGI. The Mandalorian and Grogu is both. It's the perfect balance of both, because that looks perfect. Like, nobody's looking at that going, this is like the CGI from that one Punisher scene that's been going viral lately, or the floating head from Thor Ragnarok that everybody hates on. It's nothing like that. Like, this looks as perfect as Grogu being a puppet looks, looks just as good. So having said that, it's using the balance of both worlds, the innovation of George Lucas in both rights, I suppose.
Feed him? Sure.
I believe there's another one too, but I thought there was one more. Maybe I didn't save it. What? Let's see. Oh, that one came out 4 hours ago. Okay. I think there was one even. Wait a second. Oh, okay. This one maybe? Yeah, this one. Okay, so this one came out yesterday. That one came out today. This one came out yesterday.
The Mandalorian and Grogu is the movie event of the summer, and audiences can't get enough of it. Star Wars is back.
That's a long way down.
See it before it's too late.
What took you so long?
Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah.
The Mandalorian.
Mike, you have Letterboxd? I don't. I've a lot of people have told me to get it and do all these movie reviews and stuff, and I've thought about it. I definitely have. I don't know. It seems like a lot of pressure, Seems like a lot of pressure. Plus, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so like Star Wars is going to be way higher for me than pretty much all other movies. Okay, sorry, I digress.
And Grogu is the movie event of the summer, and audiences can't get enough of it. Star Wars is back.
I know audiences can't get enough of it. They're trying to promote the movie, whatever. As a Star Wars fan, I've seen this movie twice now. I am dying to see it a third time. Like, I know that it's sort of my job to do that, but I'm like, as a fan, I'm just dying to see it again, because it's that kind of movie where you can just watch it over and over and over again, even though you know the outcome.
That's a long way.
I love this. Like, cast your mind back to 2019, okay? 2019, like November 11th, because November 12th is when Disney Plus dropped and we got introduced to Grogu. Cast your mind back to November 11th, 2019, okay? You had no idea who Grogu was at all as a concept. You heard about this Mandalorian character, but you didn't know him either. And never in a million years would you think that Stinky the Hutt would be this ripped, grown-up version standing next to a Yoda character and a Mandalorian. It's crazy how time flies. It's crazy how time flies and how things get so awesome so quickly. Things you would never expect.
Way down.
See it before it's too late.
Falling down into the water.
What took you so long?
Star Wars, the man.
So good. But how come Grogu is 50 and doesn't talk yet? Well, he is. They age very differently. I actually think he would be talking if he hadn't gone through what he went through at this point. Because yes, he lives to 900, but then you would kind of do the math and you assume that he'd be about like 4 or 5 years old in human time, in human years. And that, like a 4 or 5 year old, they can speak. I think something bad still happened to Grogu that we don't know about yet. Because we know who saves him from the Jedi Temple, that's Kelleran Beck. But Grogu, when we learn Grogu's name, it's in Mando Season 2, and Ahsoka tells us. And Ahsoka tells us that he was rescued from the Jedi Temple, and then it goes dark. That's what she says. And then it goes dark. So, what happened? There's like 25 years in between that time period of him getting saved from the Jedi Temple and Din Djarin finding him with those pirates. So I think something traumatic, sort of, so to speak, has happened to Grogu that has stopped him from speaking. Or, not that he was speaking, but maybe slowed his speaking development, you know? Traumatic events, I think. But I don't know. I think he'll speak soon. I am fully convinced he is said a baby version of thank you in the movie. But that's just me. Like, babies don't come out speaking, you know? They don't one day wake up and start speaking full sentences. Grogu's not going to be like, hey, how's it going? He's going to say, like, Dada? Like, at some point, he's going to say something baby-ish at some point. But I guess that we'll have to wait and see on that. Oh. Maybe his first words.
Execute Order 66.
But that would be problematic, I think. In terms of The Mandalorian and Grogu 2, this is in Fortnite. I didn't know this. I still haven't played the new Fortnite thing. I honestly haven't played any Battlefront 2 either, and the Battlefront 2 Resurgence thing. By the way, the Battlefront 2 Resurgence was last weekend. It hit over 4 million concurrent viewers across all platforms. 4 million people are playing a 9-year-old game, a game that hasn't been updated in 6 years. Star Wars fans are the best. Okay, but this is the Fortnite game where you can actually go to Navarro and go to Din Djarin's homestead, or I guess Grogu's homestead, and look at it. It's got the 2 blurgs from the movie. It's got a target range over there, but it's got the N1. Looks so good. Embo was there. That's a pretty small house for Din Djarin and Grogu, not gonna lie. Okay, but that's pretty cool. Just saw that today and thought it was pretty cool. Thought it was pretty cool. But oh, check this out. So the George Lucas Museum opens this year. This sort of behind the scenes image was just released yesterday of sort of George worshiping his creation, I guess. Admiring his creation, I suppose. Yeah. Grievous on his little speeder from Revenge of the Sith. Life-size version of it. So cool. This museum is going to be a Star Wars fan's dream. Yeah. Rick Ruler, I appreciate that. Yeah, almost a quarter century old. Oof. Here we go. Hey, next year, Star Wars will be 50, and I'll be half the age of Star Wars. Because I'll be 25. Whoa. That's crazy to think. That's crazy to think. But that's pretty cool. George Lucas Museum opens later this year. I think in the fall of this year. Somebody wants to fact check me on that in the chat, please. But getting back to, should we do the giveaway now? Yeah, let's do the giveaway now. All right, let's do that now before our special guest comes on in a little bit here. So if you are not yet already a member, if you want to gift people memberships, if you want to get a membership yourself, whatever it may be, if you are not yet a member, this is your final chance to become a member. Lowest tier is 99 cents, of course. Then there's higher tiers. But all members have instant access to the giveaway at the end of every month. And today's giveaway is a Mando helmet. Last month's giveaway was Maul Shadowlord based. So this month has to be Mandalorian and Grogu. The Black Series, the inside of it actually looks really cool too. This is the inside. Kind of want to get myself one. Actually, I have a Mando helmet right behind me. Never mind. Forget that I said that. But this is today's giveaway. I believe it comes with a flashlight too. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I heard it's pure Beskar. But today is this is your final chance to join as a people who love Star Wars and get a 1 in whatever chance to win this helmet. Let me actually see what that list is right now. And how it works is we spin this wheel, and it's completely randomized number picker thing, and we go from there. Let's, how many members are we up to? Let's see. What's the number at? Current members, we are at 90. 90 members, people who love Star Wars. Gotta love that. That's a pretty high number right there. So 90. If you see your name on this list, starting at Sela 1, being number 90, all the way down to Cat's Paw at number 1. If you see your name on here, you of course are a member of the people who love Star Wars, which is awesome. But also you have a 1 in 90 chance to win the Mandalorian and Grogu helmet. So 1 in 90. Let's spin the wheel, shall we? Yeah, so pretty much a little over a 1% chance to win a free Mandalorian and Grogu helmet. Here we go. Spin the wheel. Such a satisfying noise. Oh, we're looking pretty early here in the 20s. No way it's 24. No way it's 24. 25. That would have been insane. You would have thought it was scripted. 25. That's crazy. Okay. 24 would have been wild. That would have been insane. Okay, 25. You know what's better than 24? 25. All right, let's see who's 25. That's going to be an early number. You gotta love that. All right, let's see. All right. Starting at Cat's Paw, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 is Jordan ready. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Fed, I believe Fed's in the chat right now, right? I believe so. I think I just saw him. Either way, Fed, you have won the Mando helmet. Hit me up on Discord, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere you can hit me up on the DMs, and I will get that out to you as soon as you reach out to me. As soon as you reach out to me. So I appreciate that. Let me write it down so I don't forget. Fed is winner. Okay. Cool. We do a giveaway at the end of every single month, as per usual, for the people who love Star Wars. So if you want a 1 in 90-ish chance, a 1% chance to win next month's giveaway, think about finding 99 cents somewhere on the ground, okay? And then we'll get on that. All right, let's do this. Let's get back to the topic at hand here today. This trilogy, because I forgot I had this article pulled up too, and I wanted to read this, so let's do that. Star Wars finally moving beyond the Skywalker saga with a new trilogy. The episode 10, 11, 12 title is pretty misleading, I suppose. Star Wars has spent the last few years in something of a holding pattern. It is not like it's disappeared, because Disney Plus has been dropping new series like hotcakes. The Mandalorian, Andor, Ahsoka, Kenobi, Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, Book of Boba Fett, Skeleton Crew, did I say that already? Animated stuff like Maul Shadow Lord, The Bad Batch, Tales, Clone Wars Season 7. The big screen has been extremely barren. Though since Rise of Skywalker closed out the sequel trilogy in 2019. Now that we have The Mandalorian and Grogu and Zellans on the big screen, though, we're starting to look ahead as to what is next. One of the biggest upcoming pieces of that plan is the new Star Wars trilogy, which was reportedly taking place after the events of the Skywalker saga, as reported by GQ, and will be penned by Simon Kinberg. So, at least the means, we won't be circling the same 30-year period again, but instead looking to the future rather than the past, because Star Wars started with the original trilogy, and then we went to the past with the prequel trilogy, and we've jumped all over the place since then. Which is certainly a good thing for Star Wars if it wants to evolve. There's some fans that want only things with legacy characters. If it doesn't have a legacy character in it, it's no good. There's some fans that want only new characters. If it has a legacy character in it, then it's no good. It needs to be new and something different. And then there's, I think, the majority of the fandom that sort of wants a mixture of both. Wants all these different good new characters, good old characters, and a mixture of both. And what I think you're going to see is, and you're kind of already seeing it right now, is that mixture of both. Din and Grogu, fan favorite characters. Mando and Grogu movie. Starfighter, all brand new characters for fans who want all brand new stuff. The Kinberg trilogy, it's going to have brand new characters. It's also going to have Rey in it, and hopefully Finn and Poe along with it. And then you have Maul Shadow Lord, which has Darth frickin' Maul in it. So it's playing the balancing act of appealing to all fans. And as we've talked about, that's an extremely impossible goal to achieve, because Star Wars is such a massive franchise, and, well, you can't please a million people or millions of people. It's not even just 1 million people. Millions of people doing one thing. You can't. Not 10 people can agree on one thing, never mind millions. So that is the struggle for Lucasfilm moving forward. You're going to have to see the balance of all things. Old Republic, New Republic, post-sequels, Dawn of the Jedi, Maul Shadow Lord, like everything in between. You're going to have to see a balance of all these things. That's why we have Fate of the Old Republic being announced while also getting a Starfighter movie at the same time. So, since The Rise of Skywalker, most major Star Wars projects have either looked backwards, filled in the gaps, or expanded side stories connected to characters from eras fans already know. The post-Skywalker trilogy will finally give Lucasfilm a chance to move the galaxy forward, which is something the franchise badly needs if you want to feel more than extremely expensive nostalgia machine. So it's not just where is the galaxy beyond the sequel trilogy, it's new droids, upgraded droids. Like, think about going from R2 units to BB units. Like BB-8, although he's awesome and sort of the comic relief of the sequel trilogy, his upgrade of being a ball that rolls around really, really fast rather than an astromech that has to, slowly reach out his front leg and then sort of skirt around. It's an upgrade. So how do you upgrade droids? How do you upgrade ships? All this stuff that has to further develop in the galaxy. It wasn't that long ago that hyperspace lanes could not be traveled, or there weren't as many mapped out. Even in the High Republic era, they were still trying to figure that out. The Outer Rim in the High Republic era is sort of this Wild West where people go to start a new life because the Republic doesn't have any outreach to that area. Even in the prequel trilogy, they don't reach that far. So how does that affect the rest of the galaxy? That's what we're looking for. Which Force user are you? We already did this. We already did that. So what is the next Star Wars movie? For now, the confirmed theatrical future includes Star Wars Starfighter, while the post-Skywalker trilogy points to a larger term plan for where this franchise will go next. A film based around a pertinent New Jedi Order starring Daisy Ridley as Rey is also in the works. But like so many other projects, news for that film has gone cold since it was initially announced. There has been updates from Daisy Ridley herself, which, she can only say so much because we haven't gotten any updates from Lucasfilm themselves. But there has been some updates for that movie, and I think that movie will still happen. You don't bring Daisy Ridley out on stage at a Star Wars celebration and then just, get rid of the movie. Starfighter gives Lucasfilm a more immediate next step with new characters. The cast of Starfighter includes Ryan Gosling, Flynn Gray, Matt Smith, Mia Goth, Aaron Pierre, Simon Bird, Jamal Westman, Daniel Ings, Amy Adams. And the film was written by Jonathan Trooper, and directed by Sean Levy, and will serve as a standalone in the franchise, as much as Solo and The Mandalorian and Grogu and Rogue One are standalone films. This movie will be a standalone film. I think it will set up the Rey movie, maybe even have Rey in it, just like Rogue One has all these different characters in it. But yeah, absolutely. Oh, Feb with the very generous $4 haul, sorry. I appreciate that quite a bit. Says, cheers for making giveaways to monthly supporters. Absolutely. Congrats on the win. Congrats on the big win. I expect to see movie quality photos of you in your Mando helmet. I look forward to it. Mike, you haven't mic'd off anybody yet. Whoa. Maybe in my 24 years old of age, I won't kill anybody off. We'll see how long that lasts.
Incorrect.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. No, I appreciate the super chat, though. So, a standalone film does not mean that it won't connect to anything else. It doesn't mean that we couldn't get a familiar face of like a Rey Skywalker or a Rey Palpatine, if you will. Mike, where is your character kill list? Under my pillow. I write it on every single night before I go to sleep. 24? What? I was told you were 40, dude? I don't know what's more concerning. One, that you were told that, or two, that you believed it.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Okay, having said that, though, yes, Starfighter will be a standalone film, but the more important thing is it could set up this future trilogy, which is now being talked about as the front burner for future Star Wars content in a post-sequel world. Now, let's talk about the gigantic elephant in the room, the sequel trilogy. How do we feel about the fact that the sequel trilogy, I know everybody has very differing opinions on said sequel trilogy, but how do we feel that the sequels are what are going to continue the future of Star Wars storytelling in some way? Now, they may not be the main characters, Rey, Finn, Poe, but they will be involved in it. And I personally like the sequels more than most, I think, personally. I love The Force Awakens. The other two movies, they drop off for me, but still, I don't hate them as much. I don't hate them at all. Hate is a very, very strong word. They're not my favorite. We'll put it that way. They're at the bottom of my list on Star Wars movies. And that's a hard list because, Star Wars movies are great, but still, they're at the bottom. And having said that, I think that post-sequel content is just as important to helping out the sequel trilogy as is pre-sequel content. So, as much as I really want a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show to show, Kylo Ren's fall to the dark side, Ben Solo's fall to the dark side, to explain further Palpatine's return, to explain further how Luke Skywalker ends up on Octu by himself, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. As much as that is extremely important to me for the sequel trilogy, so is the post-sequel world. Because Rey is not going to get any prequel stuff. Finn is not going to get any prequel stuff. You could get some Poe Dameron prequel stuff, but for those two characters in particular, two of your main cast, those two are only going to get further development in a post-sequel world. And for Finn, he must become a Jedi. I must see Finn wielding a lightsaber and being badass. And then for Rey, you can go in any direction, honestly. You can go down the route of her becoming sort of a darker side. What is her Jedi Order going to look like? You know, she's a Palpatine. How is she going to train a new Jedi Order? With the sacred texts? What about the attachment stuff that she's been warned not to dive into? She clearly had attachments to Ben Solo. So all that is what's most intriguing to me for a post-sequel world, because the sequel trilogy, I think, can be altered. Actually, scratch that. I know it can be altered because it already has been. And I always bring up this book, but I'm doing it again. Shadow of the Sith. This book single-handedly altered the entire way I look at The Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker went from being like, I can barely even watch this movie, to it all makes sense. It's Palpatine on Exegol. It's Ochi of Bastoon. It explains the dagger. It explains Luke. It explains Lando. It explains his whole finding his daughter stuff. Well, it also tells a great story. And then you have Project Necromancer in the Bad Batch. You have Project Necromancer in the Mandalorian's season 1, 2, and 3. All of it has already helped the sequels for me. So if you asked me what I thought about the sequels in 2019 versus today, it would be like night and day. So now ask me in 7 more years, when we get more character development for Rey and Finn in a post-sequel world, when we get more character development for those characters of Ben Solo before in a prequel with Luke Skywalker in his Jedi Temple, and Palpatine's return with Project Necromancer being explored even more. Think about that. Because the same way we look at the prequel trilogy now, the prequel trilogy that got 50s from audience scores, actually 50s is probably being generous, but getting blown up by the audience and critics alike when those movies first dropped. Those movies are now beloved by most, not all, but most Star Wars fans. The prequel trilogy is everything to me personally. So now that I grew up on the prequels, I like the prequel movies as they go as their own. But when you add 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, 3 seasons of the Bad Batch, now Maul, Shadow Lord, and all the content that came after that, like, it makes the prequel trilogy so much better, that much better. So if we can get that same thing, and now we're, 25 years since the first movie, or 26 years since the first movie? Nope, 27 years since the first movie of the prequel trilogy. When you add that to the sequels, we are now 11 years since The Force Awakens. You give it another 15 years and see where we're at. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to become the greatest thing since sliced bread, which I think Revenge of the Sith is, but it's not to say that I think those movies will become that good. But you got to give it that same effort, that same time, that same 7 seasons of a Clone Wars series, and we don't have that with Luke Skywalker yet. It's like watching Vader in A New Hope, Vader in the original trilogy, and not having the prequels to go along with it. We got Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren's a great character. We don't have the prequels to go along with it. We don't have the origin story for that character. And stuff like this, stuff like the Bad Batch, stuff like the Mandalorian and Mandalorian and Grogu and all this other Mandoverse stuff is helping it oh so greatly. Oh so greatly. I don't know why I started that whole tangent. I don't know what sparked this. What were we even talking about? Oh, post-sequel content, a trilogy, and how it can help affect the sequel trilogy even more so, if not just as much as prequel content. That's where it was. Yes. Okay, now, this is a great spot. Let's introduce a fan favorite on this channel. Hasn't been on a live stream in a while, but you may have recognized her from all the great, TikTok reels and Instagram reels and YouTube shorts we've been doing lately. Those have been getting a lot of love. I do appreciate that. But somebody who hasn't been on a live stream in a while, and we got to catch up on her Star Wars journey. So let's bring on the girl who loves Star Wars. Should we make that a thing? Let's make that a thing. Okay. Might be replacing me. Not actually. I'm getting old, guys. I don't know what to tell you. But, yeah. Samantha. Wait, let me turn your mic on. That would be helpful.
Hello, everyone.
You got to move over.
Okay.
Move
Hello,
on in
everyone.
here.
Long time no see.
Okay. Can we hear you? Say something again?
Hello.
Perfect. Okay. Wait, say something one more time.
Hello. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. I heard I was old now.
Yep.
Chat was calling me like 40 or something. Okay,
well,
you got to move over a little bit more. Much better.
Yay.
Chat,
much better.
Chat will just block me. That's fine.
Okay.
They don't want to see me anyway.
All right.
Okay. So last time you were on the stream. Whoa, I don't even know the last time you were on the live stream. Do you know?
I don't know. It's been a long time.
I think we might have finished Rebels.
Maybe.
So you've seen the original trilogy.
Yes.
You've seen The Mandalorian.
Yep.
You've seen the Book of Boba Fett.
Yep.
You've seen Ahsoka.
Yep.
You've seen Skeleton Crew.
Yep.
You've seen the Mandalorian and Grogu movie.
Yeah.
And you've seen the first 20 minutes of The Force Awakens.
Yes.
First of all, round of applause. That's a lot of Star Wars.
It is a lot of Star Wars. We made it in time. I was really not thinking that we were going to be able to catch me up in time for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. And I mean, technically, I haven't seen Maul Shadow Lord yet. So timeline-wise, I am missing that still. But, you know, we had a list of things that we wanted to accomplish in time for the movie, and we did it. And
Yes.
I was glad. I mean, not really that much would have been spoiled had I not been fully caught up, I feel like.
Yeah.
But it was good to feel in the know, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when Zeb shows up on screen, it's a lot more impactful than if you've never seen Rebels.
Of course.
Or Rada, even Stinky, which
That's true,
haven't watched the Clone Wars movie in a really long time, but
we have watched it.
yes, we have watched it.
Yeah.
Or even Embo from Clone Wars as well.
Yep.
Having said that, though, we did watch Skeleton Crew, like the last episode of Skeleton Crew, the night before we watched the movie.
That's true.
So we really were cutting it close, but we did it.
But we made it, and we
made it.
didn't even have like a full epised to watch. I feel like we just had a portion of it to watch. So
Yeah.
we were in good shape.
We made it. That's all that matters.
We worked real hard.
We worked real hard. So, I mean, I don't even know where we begin. What did you think of all of that content? Well, let's start with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, because that's the hot topic. We were
Right.
a week out since the first Star Wars movie in 7 years.
Yep.
And I know you didn't have to wait 7 years, but
That's true.
to
wait 20 hours.
Yeah. So what did you think of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie?
I loved the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I thought it was great. I thought the soundtrack was amazing. It's been stuck in my head, definitely, and it's all over my social media.
Yes.
Grogu obviously is adorable, so cute, and I loved what you were saying too. I feel like I've heard you say that some people are saying the scene where Grogu's, taking care of Din and he's off on his own and he's building the hut and everything, that some people were kind of saying it was slow, but right after we watched the movie, I said to you that I really liked that scene, and it was good to kind of see Grogu fending for himself, and he is a baby, but he's not just a baby, and he is growing up and maturing.
Yeah.
So I personally liked that scene a lot. And you were saying before, you're like, Mandalorian, Din is going to die. He's going to die. It's happening. And I did not want to believe it. Mic drop over here.
Did you just come on my live stream to tell me I was wrong about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie?
Yes, because I did not think Din was going to die. Maybe it was just me, being in disbelief and not wanting to accept it. But yeah, the whole time that he's stumbling through the forest, I was like, he's not gonna die, but I don't know how. I don't know where it's going. So it's great to see Grogu come in and save the day and fend for himself. And even him and the Anzellans coming in and rescuing Din, like he needed their help, and they were great. And the Anzellans were definitely comedic relief.
Yes.
And so yeah, I thought it was great, and definitely the definition of action packed, I would say. It, like every 10 seconds there was another scene happening, but it was all really well done. So and I like I don't know if you had told me before or not that they were using stop motion, but I didn't notice it at all during the movie. I don't think I didn't stick out and say that looks weird. So
yeah, so the only stop motion scene, or well, there was some stop motion scenes, but the big one was the Din and Grogu versus the 2 giant droid guards.
Right.
So that was stop motion, which again,
I had no idea.
it's impossible to tell pretty much.
Yeah.
But all the puppets of the Anzellans and Grogu and everything, so they just did. They did a great job.
They did do a great
nonetheless. So that's the Mandalorian and Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm more interested in your take on Ahsoka,
Mm-hmm.
because Ahsoka, as many of them know too, your favorite character is Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ahsoka live action series, we actually brought this up today.
Okay.
I'll show you this. Pretty crazy stuff. This was the top 10 all-time, like, most in-demand Disney Plus shows. So pretty much, from the premiere to the first 30 days of each premiere, how much views it got, how much popularity it had on social media, all that stuff calculated into this. In the top 10 for Disney Plus shows, number 1 is The Mandalorian Season 1. Number 2 is Daredevil Born Again, which is a sort of, a continuation of the hit Netflix series, and there was an 8-year time gap in between, so it was a big return, like Star Wars. So Mando Season 1, then Daredevil Born Again, then Mando Season 2, then Mando Season 3 at 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Then The Acolyte, which was shocking.
Yeah.
But then Andor Season 2, Loki Season 2, Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Ahsoka Season 1, and Clone Wars being the only animated thing on here. Clone Wars Season 7, and the number next to it, it says 89X. That means it's almost 100 times more than the average Disney Plus series.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So, but my take for, or what I wanted to hear for you was, what did you think of Ahsoka, specifically being in live action and being your favorite character and all that? Your reaction to Ahsoka appearing in The Mandalorian Season 2 was awesome, but just give them the rundown.
Well, obviously I love Ahsoka, so I was glad to see more of her. And, well, I was going to say it's been a while since we've seen her. That's not true, because she was in The Mandalorian and stuff. But since she was, the main focus of a show or a piece of content, it's been a while. And I feel like she matured a lot. Like in the Clone Wars and stuff, like there was just like more playful, childlike energy. And so I did notice that shift, like kind of when I was reflecting on it. I was like, why did Ahsoka seem so different? I was like, oh, well, duh, she's older.
Yeah.
And, there's things that have happened in this time period that we don't know about yet, I'm sure. The one thing that I kind of was like, I wanted a little bit more, I felt like, was more background on Sabine and Ahsoka. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but I was kind of like, I felt like they kept alluding to, there was this tension. They weren't working together well. Like something really big happened. And obviously, the not Siege of Mandalore. What am I looking for? When they bombed, not Siege.
Yeah, the Night of a Thousand Tears.
Yeah. Obviously that happened to her family, and I'm sure that wasn't helpful for their relationship. But we don't know what the story is there necessarily. So that's something that I would like to know a little bit more about. Was kind of their experience training together and kind of what went wrong there.
Yeah.
But great to see some of those characters in live action, Hera, Ezra, and Sabine. And Thrawn, of course. I thought that the guy who was wearing all gold?
Enoch.
Yeah. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, Thrawn is just a genius. You never know his next move, but he's got it all planned out. And I'm just panicked for Ahsoka now. I'm like, does she get off or get out of this galaxy and return? Not likely, but what's going to happen?
Likely.
Because it's Sabine and Ahsoka, and then Shin Hati and Balin they're the only ones that are still there. They're all still there, right?
And Hu Yang,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just them.
And so I want to know what Balin's
Up
greater
to.
purpose is. Yeah, what he's planning, and then how that all ties in. And I'm definitely interested to see what happens with Anakin being back, because
Yeah.
You said it's not going to be like a Force ghost, so how are they?
That's what we're hearing. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's weird. But Anakin's going to be a main character for sure.
Which is awesome.
I'm very glad you brought up the Sabine stuff, because the Sabine stuff is always a hot topic when it comes to Ahsoka.
Mhm.
But you hit the nail on the head, because I was going to bring that up in the first place too, is that's what happened. Like, Rebels ends, and it sort of ended, at least with the Mandalorians, where they reclaimed their homeworld from the Empire.
Yep.
Even. And Sabine gives Bo-Katan the Darksaber and all that
Mhm.
great stuff. And then after Ezra disappears,
Yep.
leaves Sabine with his lightsaber, they sort of go off and start training. I agree with you that we need more on that.
Mhm.
But from what we gather is they train for a while, her family all dies, and Sabine's a Mandalorian, and they're all stubborn, and they're all supposed to be trained for the exact opposite reasons of the Jedi, which
Yeah.
we see in the Mandalorian too,
Right.
where Din's like, the Jedi are supposed to not have attachments. What the hell is that about?
Right.
But Sabine is the opposite of that, having plenty of attachments to Ezra and Hera and all of her
Mhm.
family. But then her whole family dies, like her actual family dies
Yeah.
in the Night of a Thousand Tears, and Mandalore being turned to glass. And then maybe we don't know, but maybe she went down a little dark path.
Mm.
And that's immediately would be like PTSD for Ahsoka, because she'd be like, oh my
Right.
God, Anakin,
Yeah.
Vader, this is the end of the world. But it all is sort of to explain why she won't train Grogu,
Mm-hmm.
because she would be the best option
Right.
for Grogu at this
Yeah.
point. Being that she knew Yoda too.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Luke does technically too, but
Yeah.
still. She would be the best option for sure, but she's like immediately, nope, not going to do it. And that's
Mhm.
because she's still coming off the backs of that with Sabine, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Having said that, The Mandalorian. I know you've been watching so much Star Wars lately, but you watched The Mandalorian a lot lately. It's just the first 3 seasons.
Yes.
What is your take on, I guess, the characters of Din and Grogu themselves, but more so because we've been watching Clone Wars in the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and even Rebels, and like, what are your takes on these sort of lower level stories that are grounded characters, like Andor, like The Mandalorian, like Skeleton Crew, which is not really that important to anything. Well, I
Mhm.
guess Adden is, but whatever. But it's more grounded level characters than Skywalkers and Palpatines and all that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on these types of stories?
Well, yeah, when you were saying when you brought up the word grounded, I immediately was just thinking Andor, and I don't know if I have talked about Andor at all on here or not, but I really liked it. I like a grounded story too, and I'm trying to think of, if I was in Star Wars, what would my life be like? I wouldn't be a Jedi. I wouldn't be. That doesn't seem like that would be realistic for me. I'd probably just be a regular person, and so I like the shows that are kind of more down to earth. And it is nice to get a different.
Where would you live?
Where would I live? Man, where would I live? Naboo, probably.
I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah.
Where would you live?
Mustafar.
Well,
Invader's Castle.
Well, you have fun. I'll go live in Naboo.
No, I'll take
and-
Naboo.
No,
How
you
about-
said it's Mustafar. You're
Oh.
being exiled now. Now
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not invited to come
All
to
right.
Naboo with me.
Deal.
But yeah, so I like the more grounded stories too, and I think it just adds more dimension. And
Yeah.
and I think maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think it adds to the story and helps people to not get tired of seeing not the same thing, but I mean, obviously lightsabers are probably the coolest weapon ever, but it's good to have other weapons, other styles of fighting, and just switch it up a little bit, I think is helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it's Star Wars, so you can have this vast array of different Star Wars content. We were
Right.
just talking about that today with this, because we're talking about a Simon Kinberg trilogy and all that great stuff, and Kinberg co-created Rebels, so what a future trilogy with him would look like would probably be involved with the Force and the Jedi, which makes sense. But yes, you need the grounded stories as well, and a balance between them. You have two, and we look at this list, you have two very right next to each other, very different projects. Oh, why is my mouse being like that? Very different projects right next to each other, with Andor, extremely grounded, no Force, no lightsabers. The Acolyte, all Force, all lightsabers, Jedi, Sith, like that's all it is.
Yeah.
And they're two very different stories, but also can be great at the same time. And then you add in the bounty hunting side of things with the Mandalorian, way more of the Force and lore with a new galaxy and Ahsoka and all that stuff, and even the animation side with Clone Wars, and you'll watch them all soon too. But the dark side and the perspective of bad guys in Star Wars, which is really the first time we're getting that, which is great too. So it's just all because the galaxy is so large and so vast, you can do all that and have different stories for different people who like different things.
Right. Yeah. I know you were. I was watching a little bit earlier, and I heard you bring up Marvel and stuff, but like I feel like that is a tough spot for Marvel, where they're kind of in one universe, and when they go outside of it and they're trying to bring in what is the word that I'm looking for?
The
multiverse. Yeah. Trying to bring the multiverse, like it's kind of harder to grasp than in Star Wars. I feel like the setup is like a lot better in the sense that you can have it's all the same galaxy, or maybe not. Ahsoka's not in the same galaxy anymore.
Yeah.
But you know, you can have all these different planets and tie in different things, and you know, different, like this planet has this type of culture, and the Mandalorians are this way, and the Jedi are this way, and so I think that, you know, that setup is good. There's a ton of diverse perspectives to look at and just more avenues to explore, which
yeah. Somebody said you can live with the Gungans on Naboo.
I take it.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Someone said live on Korriban, which is a Sith planet. That's where Yoda goes in Clone Wars season 6.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Swamp life on Dagobah, nice, just chilling.
I feel like there might be too many bugs for me.
Yeah, there's a dragon snake there. We just saw the dragon snake in the Mandalorian. We don't want to mess with that.
That's not going to work for me, unfortunately.
Ultimate Benson says multiverse means you run out of ideas. Kind of. Well, with superheroes, it's a little different because that's always been sort of a thing in the comics. But yeah, to your point, like you can only do the superhero thing in so many different ways with Marvel, and you run out of ideas eventually.
Because if you take Marvel then like to the ground level the way that they do in Star Wars, then it's just regular people, and it's not. I mean, there's plenty of shows out there that are about regular people, but like in the Marvel world, people kind of don't care as much, I feel like, or they wouldn't care as much. I feel like that's not really something that they focus on a lot, because it's just like, well, now I'm watching everyday life. I came here for superheroes versus, you know, Star Wars. There's, even if it's a regular person, like their life is different. So
yeah. Okay. Well, the topic of conversation today was episode 10, 11, 12. This trilogy, Simon Kinberg. I don't want it to be episode 10, 11, 12. It might be, but it'll be a new era of Star Wars content, Star Wars characters and everything. Rey will probably be involved, but sort of as an Obi-Wan in A New Hope type character. But the main characters will be brand new. And somebody just brought up any ideas on what you guys would like to see in episode 10 to 12. You have not finished the sequels yet, so you don't really know where the galaxy's at by the end of that.
Yeah.
So without spoiling any of it, I suppose, it's probably going to be this trilogy, whenever it is, at least 20-ish years past the sequels, at least. So you're talking most of our characters are old and dead or older for our younger characters.
Yep.
So the one question mark I have for 10, 11, 12 would be Grogu. Because Grogu is 50. By the time of this, even 20 years after the sequels, he'd still be 90, maybe, give or take. So he's still maybe 100. And Yoda supposedly started training Jedi when he was 100. And I don't think he's going to train Jedi because he's a Mandalorian. He's not going to go eventually to rejoin the Jedi. Like, that doesn't make any sense. He's going to stay with the Mandalorian people. So I guess, and I'm wondering what you think and what the chat thinks as well, is will Grogu and the Mandalorians, because Bo-Katan, they're all rebuilding their home world, and we don't see them in the sequel trilogy. Spoiler alert, we don't see Mandalorians at all in the sequels. So what are they doing, and where are they at, and where's Grogu at, and what are they, like, that's what I hope is involved in this trilogy, along with the Rey stuff. Because Rey's new Jedi Order is important. What the future of the galaxy looks like, droids, ships, etc. That's all very important. Who's in charge, like New Republic gone, First Order rises, First Order, you know, whatever happens to them, no spoilers. What does the galaxy look like? What's the government look like? What does Coruscant look like? What does everything look like in the galaxy? That's what I want to see. But in terms of what happens, Rey dies, Finn's a Jedi. Got to happen. Finn dies.
Everybody dies. No surprise here.
Not everybody. I only said 2 people die. Okay. Poe Dameron
Felt
dies.
like you were going down a path I couldn't follow.
Yeah. But other than that, I hope the Starfighter characters are main characters.
Mhm.
Flynn Gray's the kid for Starfighter. Ryan Gosling appearance would be great in these movies too. But it's so far away. It's so far in the future that predictions for stuff like that are going to be nearly impossible until we see a trailer of some sort.
Right.
But
Because they could take it any direction they want. Like
any direction. And I guess what they're going to do too is they're going to learn from what the sequel trilogy got wrong,
Mhm.
which is with The Force Awakens, a lot of it trying to sort of copy and paste what the originals did. And obviously bouncing around from creatives to creatives. They're having just Simon Kinberg write the entire thing. A director would probably be different for every movie, but still it'll be one cohesive story from the beginning, which the sequels was not.
Yep.
So you're going to try to see them take some pretty big leaps while also trying to give you what you want at the same time. Again, this balancing act that Star Wars will never be able to accomplish.
Mhm.
I guess my question to you would be, and to the chat too, is what do you want or expect to see from this movie or trilogy that Simon Kinberg is working on? And do you think we'll see an older version of Grogu?
I mean, I would love to see an older version of Grogu. I don't exactly know. We watched the sequels technically, but it was a really long time ago, and I don't remember anything. I don't know how much of it I was paying attention to, so I don't necessarily know where the galaxy is at the end of things to be able to kind of set that up. But I do think it would be cool to have Grogu, involved somehow. Obviously, he's not a Jedi because he's a Mandalorian and he doesn't finish his training with Luke or anything, but he is obviously in touch with the Force. And, you were saying Rey's Jedi Order. Like, it'd be cool kind of if Grogu is some sort of part of that.
Yeah.
Like, obviously he's not a Jedi, but I guess the problem with the Jedi is how rigid they are in their rules and stuff. And like that leads to their downfall. So it'd be cool to see Grogu, who is a Force user and has had some training, because what training has Rey had in the Jedi ways? I haven't seen all the sequels, so I don't know where that goes. But her building a Jedi temple on what training is kind of what I'm thinking of. At least Grogu has had some training.
Well, to your point, and you have not seen the training that Rey gets, but some would argue it's not much.
Okay.
It's the exact same as Luke. Luke in the originals, it's the same argument, I guess. Luke in the originals gets training from Obi-Wan for 4 seconds on the Millennium Falcon as they're going to Alderaan.
Yep.
Then by the time we see him next, he's had 0 training in Empire, and he's hanging upside down after being captured by the Wampa on Hoth, and he uses the Force to grab the lightsaber.
Yep.
How did he learn that? We have no idea. Then in that movie, he goes to train with Yoda, and he trains with Yoda. That's his training. He's there for a couple weeks, and then he goes to help his friends on Bespin. So Cloud City. So he leaves there, doesn't finish his training, comes back eventually to watch Yoda die, and then in between those 2 movies, Empire and Return of the Jedi, he trains by himself for a while, for a year or so.
Yep.
Or maybe closer to 2 or 3 years. But either way, not a lot of training for Luke Skywalker. And again, he gets his own Jedi Temple, and that all, you'll see what happens with that. But Rey, I think, is going to be in a very similar spot as not a lot of training in terms of like the Jedi of the prequel era.
Right.
Not a lot of training at all. And how does that work? Is she going to have attachments in her Jedi Order? Like, what is the difference there? And as you were talking, and you brought up different Force users too, with Grogu, obviously, you have characters like, at least in the Mandoverse, that are still alive to our knowledge. Ezra Bridger, maybe Cal Kestis if he ever comes around. Ezra Bridger, Cal Kestis, Sabine, like these people are young enough that they would be alive at that time for Rey's new Jedi Order. So would they be involved too?
Yep.
There's a lot of Force users in the galaxy that wouldn't be per se Jedi, but they could be involved in a post-sequel world. So seeing those characters as well would be really cool.
Yeah, that's true. Well, so what is the timing of when these movies will be coming out, and how old is Ezra, and would he be
we don't know.
around in shape for that? Oh, we have no idea?
Well, Starfighter's 5 years after the sequels.
Okay.
We know that.
So when is...
So Ezra would be, let's say Ezra is 14 in Rebels, make him 25 in Ahsoka.
It's that long?
It's about 11 years he's stranded.
Okay.
10 years, 11 years. So let's say he's 24.
Okay.
Them
24, you said.
Yeah, 24.
Bias.
Me and Ezra Bridger, we go way back. Then, so from Ahsoka, you're looking at another 25 years to the sequels. And then let's say at the latest, it's 10 years after that, 15 years after that. So you're looking at least Ezra would be
mid-50s,
mid-60s, maybe in his 60s. So that's not like too old, but now you're going to have to recast the character with an older version.
Yep.
And it becomes, a lot more difficult. Ezra was born on the same day as Luke and Leia, actually. Yeah. The exact same age.
Wow.
Because he's born on Empire Day. And Empire Day is when the Empire took over.
Right.
Order 66, which is when Luke and Leia are born.
Right.
All right. But having said that, that's been the news for today. A new trilogy is on its way, and it seems to be at least on the front burner, as they say, for the future of Star Wars content. Mandalorian and Grogu is still, of course, in theaters, obviously. The highest audience score since the original trilogy, and made its filming budget back on the opening weekend, which is great. And we'll see how this second weekend goes. Hopefully it goes well, but only time will tell. And Qira returning. So you watched Solo.
I did watch Solo.
Qira at the end gets called by Maul to go train with him. There was a little clip of Emilia Clarke, who plays Qira, talking about returning, or at least she said she thinks that the ship has sailed on that, but fans have, wanted her to come back. Do you think we could see her again?
I mean, you were saying earlier, like, Maul
you
stuff.
haven't seen Maul stuff.
Yeah, so I haven't seen Maul Shadow Lord, so I can't comment on any of that. But, I mean, just based off of what I kind of had you playing in the background, and I was picking up things a little bit.
Nice.
I mean, I think she could be involved, and if there's fan interest, then obviously that's another reason to have her there. And she would fit in with, like, it wouldn't not make sense for her to be there.
Yeah.
So I think she could come back, but
I would like it. I'd like it quite a bit. If she comes back, like last time we saw her was in Solo, and she's good in Solo.
Yeah.
But she comes back trained by Maul.
Yeah.
Like, she's not going to be a Force user, but she'll be trained by Maul,
which is awesome.
And the leader of the Crimson Dawn.
Yep.
And now with the Hutts gone, and it would be awesome.
Yeah. No, that would be very cool.
Yeah. So we'll see. Ahsoka would be 85 in Starfighter. Well, Ahsoka's going to be dead come next year. So anything to say about that? No, I actually don't think she's going to die. But she will serve a greater purpose, I think, on Peridia as the daughter of the Force. Having said that, we do have to get on out of here. We've gone way over 2 hours. I don't know how that always happens. The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, having a movie out. We have yet to cover a movie in channel history, so I guess it means 2-hour live streams all the time. But I appreciate you all for being here. Smash a freaking like on this stream if you have not already. We'll have to have you on again soon to give your take on the sequels, because everybody will be eagerly awaiting that.
Yes.
But if you want to see more of Samantha, you can see her, of course, on all the fun stuff we do now.
That's true.
With the TikToks and the Reels and the Shorts and all that great stuff. We got a fun one coming out today, which is blind ranking the Mandalorian and Grogu characters. That comes out at 5 p.m. today, so watch out for that. 24 years young. You didn't wear the happy birthday sign. No, it's okay.
You didn't give it to me.
No. But I appreciate all the very generous super chats and happy birthday wishes today. It's very, very generous. I appreciate that quite a bit. But shout out to Fed for winning the giveaway today. And yeah. May the Force be with you. Always. Damn it, Chopper. Are you kidding me? On my birthday? God.
You needed some motivation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you'll ever know. This was quite the live stream. I mean, a new trilogy. You can't get much more excited than that. But having said that, Thrawn, even though he's not in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, will be coming very, very soon, even next year in Ahsoka Season 2. But also, hopefully, for a Heir to the Empire movie, if not trilogy, 2 trilogies. What's better than one trilogy? 2 trilogies. But I appreciate all the very generous super chats and happy birthday wishes yet again. Keep the conversation going in the Discord. Watch out for that short in about an hour. And yeah, hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night, everybody.